Hello everybody, my name is Victor and I am the creator of hitmaps.com.au website. This is my hobby, but I'm also a property investor myself. And today I'm going to share with you my super genius formula, my action plan, my wealth creation formula. I don't know what would be the best name for it, but this is what I do. This is my plan. And today I will explain to you how it works. Okay, let's get to it. I'm going to point your attention and explain this whole thing. It's a bit big. It's probably going to take about half an hour. So this is you, or this is me, or this is Mr. X. And he's gonna be our main character today. His salary is $100,000. He pays $22,700 in taxes, and he managed to save $100,000 in savings, which is quite a lot, but this whole thing is just an example. I try to be realistic, but it's not always the case. It's just for the purpose of explanation. So he is renting, no ownership. And his borrowing capacity is $500,000. And this borrowing capacity is static, which means we are not going to discuss anything in regards to how to increase your borrowing capacity. So let's just assume this is a static number. Just to explain this thing. Then what I am actually doing is I am investing into off-the-plan townhouses, or almost off the plan. Almost means that construction has already started. Maybe it's halfway done, maybe it's just 10% done, but it's more than nothing. But even if it is just nothing, it is still fine. I like Queensland. I am mostly investing in Queensland, but it's a Queensland Plus, which means it will probably work in some other states. I am not 100% sure. Then, off the plan. Sometimes when people say off the plan, they assume that off the plan is like somewhere in the middle of nowhere, in the west of Sydney, somewhere like hours away, where all the house and land construction is happening, lots of constructions and lots of other houses. So I am focusing only in established locations with a nice lifestyle, with no other constructions around. So our place should be unique in established locations, not in the middle of nowhere. I actually seen nice offers even in Sydney's eastern suburb of Vaucluse. Vaucluse is a blue chip, super expensive, and even there it is possible. I have seen a really nice, but I think it was too expensive. Then another important thing that you have to know is that we are assuming that off-the-plan construction takes approximately 2 years. And in 2 years, we are converting like a piece of land in a nice location into a beautiful brand new townhouses complex. It's more than one. It could be like 5, 10, 20, even 40, even sometimes 50 townhouses around. But it still has to be limited offer. Then, this is my assumption. I did not calculate this number. This is just how I feel based on my own experience, that in the 2-year span, the price of a house under construction goes up 15% because of the construction risks being eliminated. At this stage, when this is just a bushland, there are so many different risks of what can go wrong. But when it's established, finished, compliant house, there are no risks, and because of that, it is now at least 15% more expensive. And also, there is another 10% are coming just from the market moves. In 2 years, I would expect like house market to go up in at least 10% interval, something like that. So altogether, our investment should return to us 25% in 2 years. So this is a very important assumption, and unfortunately at this stage I don't have any mathematical confirmation. I would love to work on one, but because I have done this before and my return of investment actually outperformed those 25%. Actually, like in my case, when I invested before COVID, it was boosted by like 60 or 70%. But let's be realistic and expect only 25% in 2 years. I'm speaking a lot. Okay, so this is the most important thing. That is just my planning. Yeah, these are my townhouses in construction, but today we're talking about my mega genius plan, my wealth creation formula. So let's get to it. Firstly, this is a timeline. It's a timeline, and there are some time intervals, and there are certain actions: contract signing, settlements, sale of properties, with numbers, actually a lot of numbers here. In the middle, this green area is explanation of those actions at the bottom, with lots of numbers again. And this section, this is the line, this is actually a table where I keep track of my balance, I keep track of how many houses I own, and this includes, it is actually mostly under construction houses, and my portfolio value. Let's get back to our Mr. X. His starting point is $100,000. This is his income and this is his borrowing capacity. So this is where it all starts. We have $100,000 on our balance. And what we do first, we are investing into our very first property. Of the planned townhouse construction, we're signing contract of the planned purchase of our first property that cost $500,000. We have to pay 10% deposit to secure that contract. So we have to transfer $50K to trust account of developer solicitors. I think this is how it's called. This is how it's normally done. And actually that number is negotiable. It's like a little hack and secret, but many developers will agree to even smaller deposit, and this is very important, but we will get to this later. So let's just be like, this scenario is very pessimistic and realistic at the same time. So we're using 10% deposit just for the purpose of explanation. So we're paying $50,000 and our balance goes from 100K down to 50K. But house count is now 1. We have our first house. We own it. Almost. It's still under construction. We soon to own it. Portfolio value, 500K. Cool. What are we doing next? In 6 months, we are signing another contract. Same amount, same transaction, but 6 months later. I will explain you why. Because this is all super calculated. 6 months. So at this stage, our balance goes down to 0. And now we own 2 houses worth $1 million altogether. Okay, and then for 18 months, we are doing almost nothing. We don't have money to invest. What I do is I'm just following news. I'm following YouTubers, latest updates, what's going on the market, interest rates, but also I'm living life. I'm traveling, I'm enjoying restaurants, just going into funny places. I'm going to gym, I'm exercising and so on, building relationships, falling in love, raising kids, all that. Life goes on. Then in 18 months, our first settlement is coming. Settlement from our first contract. 6 months, 18 months gives us 24 months, which is 2 years, and this is our first settlement. To settle on this house, which means to own it, like 100%, we need to pay $450,000 back to developer, calling it mortgage for some reason. So to settle, we need to borrow some money. We're borrowing $450,000 from bank. This is our main mortgage. And on top of that, we are also borrowing $16K, which is stamp duty. We have to pay stamp duty, and in Queensland, in today's conditions, for $500,000 property, this is $16,000 stamp duty. So we're borrowing $466,000 in total, and we are settling on this property. So let's check our position. We were sitting at zero, and now we have negative balance of $466,000. This is our mortgage, and we now own 2 properties as we did before, but now 2 years after, our portfolio cost is now $1.25 million. This is based on this 25% growth. 2 properties, so we're settling on this property. And in this settlement, because the market price now is plus 25%, it makes $625K. So we are sitting at 75% LVR, which means we are not paying any lender mortgage insurance, no LMI. Yeah, also a couple more things to consider. We're gonna sell this house, and let's remember 3% is going to be our agent's commissions plus legal. It's a bit of approximation, but very realistic from my experience. Okay, we have settled, and in the next 3 months, we are selling this property. At this stage, your property looks the best. It's nice and shiny, brand new. It makes the best impression. So if you want to sell this property for good money, you should sell it immediately. Potentially, you could actually compete if there are other people in this complex who will be selling. You may compete with them. Maybe you will need to wait a little. But if no one is selling, be first. But actually, I'm not afraid of competition. That's a whole other subject of discussion. So we're selling this property for $625,000. And let's see what will happen. So when we're selling property, we have to pay agent's commission, which in this case should be something around $20K. Agents and legals. Legal is just a couple thousand, something like that. But also we have to pay $23,000 of tax, capital gain tax. We have to pay that, unfortunately. I can show you how I calculated these numbers. So when we're selling it, $625,000 are hitting our account. But after we will pay agent's commission, after we will pay tax, and after we will pay our debt, the final number that we're gonna see in our savings account is $116,000. So this is our balance. It is positive and it is awesome. We still have one more house, almost finished, that is approaching market value of $625,000. What we're doing next? Here, immediately after we sold our first house, I am suggesting to put a deposit for next townhouse under construction. And this time we can afford $600K, because after we sold our first house, we have quite an impressive positive savings account. So this is why we are paying $60K. That is another 10% deposit for a $600K property. We're paying it, and our balance goes down from 116 down to $56K. But now we own 2 properties, 2 beautiful properties, and our portfolio value is now this, 1.225K, more than $1 million, 1.2 mil, even more. Cool, so that is a nice spot. And then in 3 months, our second settlement is coming. This is our second contract, and we are doing exactly same thing again. So we are selling it for the same amount. we're borrowing the same amount as well. So after we are settling and selling, this is where we're gonna be. So firstly, we're borrowing 466,000, then we're selling it, and we're closing our mortgage, and now our balance is $172,000, and we still have one more house. This is our third one, this one that we just invested just a few months ago. Okay, so, and again, after we transacted, after we sold our second house and our account is so high, we should invest immediately again. Actually, at this point, when you are selling your house, you should already know what would be your next investment, because once a big money are hitting your account, you don't want to wait for too long. You want to invest, actually reinvest this into your property number 4. And now we can afford 700K property. And again, we're paying 10% deposit, $70,000 for $700,000 worth construction. And now we are sitting here. Our positive balance is $102,000. We have 2 projects. We have 2 houses under construction, and this is our market position today. 1.3 mil. So I was going to check. So we are approaching our 3rd year. So I have like 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, just little marks here to know where are we. So in 3 years time, we're sitting somewhere here. Our balance in the very beginning was 100,000. Now it's pretty much same balance, plus 2 properties under construction that are worth $1.3 million. Cool. What are we doing next? Another 18 months. Another 18 months of waiting. You're waiting. Sometimes it is frustrating. So you have to entertain yourself. Money are here to be spent on some fun things. So enjoy your time here and make sure that you're ready for your next settlement. Settlement number 3. Settlement number 3 is for the house that we sign up to buy for 600K. Same thing again. We are borrowing, but this time we can only borrow 500K. Because remember, our borrowing capacity is static, as we discussed. It's $500,000. We are still working on the same job, and we don't want to sacrifice our lifestyle and find another job. So we actually need $540,000. It's like 600K minus 10%. 540K. This is what we need to pay to developer, and also we need another $20,000 for stamp duty expenses. We need to pay stamp duty. So what we do is we're borrowing the maximum 500K from the bank, and also we're taking $60,000 of my money, your own money. Let's follow it here. So after this settlement, our position will be on our saving account, we're gonna have only 42,000, which comes from 102 minus 60. So this is our positive $42,000 that could be sitting, for example, on the offset account. And we have this mortgage, 500K. But also, since we waited for another 18-month period, our property portfolio is now appreciating in price. We have 2 properties with market price of $1.45 million. It's a good position. So we're settling on property number 3, we're selling it, and since we bought property number 3 for 600K, now 2 years after, we're selling it with 25% appreciation, which gives us $750,000. Again, we have to pay 3% to agent, which is 25,000. We have to pay 28K in capital gain tax, and now we are here. We have nice savings account, $239,000 are now sitting here, and we still have 1 more property. Cool. So we're selling it, we have big account, and we're investing again. And this time our property number 5 will be worth $750,000. We're gaining capital. We can reinvest into more and more expensive properties. We're growing, we are scaling up. So we are paying 10% of $750,000 is $75K. Now 239 minus 75, we are sitting here in $164,000 positive balance. We are controlling 2 properties and now our portfolio worth $1.5 million. How cool is that? And we are waiting just 3 months because our property number 4 is also almost ready to settle. Same thing again, we're borrowing $500K from the bank, and this time we're borrowing $155,000 from our savings account. We're borrowing from ourselves, we're just using our own money because we need $630,000 that we owed to developer. Remember, that was our, I think, $700K. Yes, it's settlement number 4. Contract 4 was $700K. So we need $630,000 that we must pay developer, and we have to pay $25,000 in stamp duty. So altogether it's $655,000. This is what we need, and this is how we solve it. So upon this settlement, immediately after, our balance is down to just $9,000. Our debt is $500,000, but we are controlling 2 properties worth $1.5 million. We are settling and we are selling it again. We are selling this house for $875,000. That is a good gain, 25% from 70K. Yes, 70K. Cool. We're paying agents commission, we're paying our capital gain tax, our balance goes up to $321,000. Cool, we could buy a Lamborghini and still have a house. But no, we're not doing it. What we do is we are investing into our property number 6 that now we can afford $900,000 property. This is gonna be our biggest one. So we're paying 10%, which is 90K. Our balance goes down from $321 to $231,000, and now we're controlling 2 properties with market price of $1.7 million. And then we're waiting again. And again, we are enjoying our life for 1.5 years. We're waiting until construction will finish, we will settle and sell a house and gonna have another Lambo day in our life. 18 months after, we are getting ready for our settlement number 5. We need $675,000 and stamp duty $27,000. How we doing it again? We're borrowing $500K from the bank, and we're using $202,000 of my money. We're settling on this property. So $202,000 are coming from here. This is our balance from previous transactions. Our balance goes down to just $29,000. We're borrowing $500K, so this is our mortgage. We're controlling 2 properties, and now 18 months after, we are controlling 2 properties. So the first one now worth $930,000. 930. This is coming from this property number 5, $750,000 plus 25% gives us that number. I hope I did not miscalculate. And also this property, 900K, the biggest one, plus 25% growth is now worth $1,125,000. Good position. So we're settling here. And then we're selling it. We're selling our property number 5. So $940,000 are coming now. Did I miscalculate something? I should double check that. Maybe I miscalculated $10,000. Very sorry, I will double check this. But it's not critical in this case. So where are we? We are paying agent's commission, we're paying capital gain tax. Our position is we have $402,000. We still control one more property worth over $1 million. And we are settling on our biggest property so far, 900K. We need 810K. Stamp duty $34K. We're borrowing our standard $500,000 from the bank. We're using $344,000 of my money, which are coming from here. We're settling, and this is our position after settlement. Our balance is $58,000. Our mortgage is $500,000, and we still have one more property worth more than $1 million. And we are selling this property here. 7 years after, this is our last transaction in this action plan. Selling it for $101,125, that amount. Paying agent commission, paying taxes, and we are finishing here. Our balance is over $600,000, which is not bad, but not super good as well. We're not millionaires yet. So at this point in time, we don't have any more houses, we don't have any more portfolio, we only have over $600,000 of tax-free money that we can spend, and cash is the king. So that is, long story short, it's already like half an hour. But as I was thinking through all of this, I thought this is actually not good enough. And I want to discuss with you boosters. How can we boost this plan to make it more effective? So these are my ideas. We need more expensive projects. So 500K is good, but imagine if it was 600K. Maybe like 600 becomes 700 and so on. So imagine if our salary is higher, or maybe our borrowing capacity is higher. That would actually improve our position here. So I want this number to be over $1 million. And then I have my next idea, more frequent settlements. We need to settle more frequently because every settlement brings us money, brings us cash. And to get those settlements more frequently, we need to negotiate lower deposits. And that is actually, it works. And I did it myself on one of my properties. The thing is, when you are buying off the plan, developers, when you're buying off the plan property from developers, they are quite open to negotiate your deposit. And they could agree to just 5% deposit or 7 or whatever number you could negotiate. That means that in the very beginning, when you have your 100K, you can buy not 2 properties, but 4. That is a massive booster that could potentially more than double your final outcome. And this is what I am really focusing on now. Then also another thing that could really help is if you can establish your principal place of residence. Imagine if on this settlement, or like as many as you can possibly do, instead of just settling and selling it as investment property, you are actually moving into this house. You're moving all your stuff, you changing all the documents, you even enroll your kids to local school, you're changing your car registration, all of the documents, you're starting to live there. This becomes your principal place of residence. And then if you're selling it, you are not paying capital gain tax. So on those transactions, every time when I was mentioning we're paying tax, you will not pay tax if you will move into this house and establish your principal place of residence. So I am thinking to redesign my Genius formula and include lower deposit and a couple of principal place of residence. Because I'm thinking that it is achievable to achieve more than $1 million starting from $100,000 in span of 7 years. So this is what was on my mind all this time, because I am not so much focused on equity. I don't like borrowing equity. I do like equity as such, as a thing, but the borrowing is not good. To me, borrowing equity is pretty much just using credit card with like 6% interest rate. When you have equity in your house and you're coming to your bank and you're telling, hey guys, can I please access my equity? They're saying sure, and they're borrowing it to you, and you have to pay interest on it. So this is just a credit card, and I don't like this. I don't want to pay any interest. This is why interest payments in this plan are minimum. We are only paying interest to bank for a couple months. I don't know how many, maybe 2, maybe 3 months. It depends. Only when we're owning it. We are settling and then we're selling. And we're only paying interest for a couple months instead of years. So what do you think, guys, about my super genius plan? I hope it will work. I hope I didn't miss anything. And I am actually following my own plan. So far it works. Time will show you. It will show me and everyone if I was right or I was wrong. Cool. Thank you for your time. See you later.